On this episode of Why Union, we have Maryland State Senator Cory McCray, whose new book, The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life, is out now wherever books are sold. It's a great read. He's an even better conversationalist. We hope you'll enjoy this conversation that we shared with Maryland State Senator Cory McCray about how the apprenticeship saved his life. Our guest today is an entrepreneur, Maryland State Senator, union electrician, husband, and father from Baltimore, Maryland. As a young man, Cory McCray was on the wrong track in life. Thanks to the undying loyalty of his mother steering him towards an apprenticeship with IBEW Local 24, Cory would eventually become a successful business owner and even Maryland State Senator. For all he's done, Cory credits his ascent specifically to joining the IBEW apprenticeship, and his new book tells his journey through that apprenticeship, as well as detailing the do's and don'ts for navigating an apprenticeship. The book is titled The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life, Guidebook to Navigating the Earn While You Learn Opportunity of a Lifetime. It's good. I wouldn't say it was good if it wasn't. I genuinely enjoyed it.
My God.
It's available now from Morgan James Publishing, wherever books are sold. Cory, thanks so much for coming in today.
Tyler, I appreciate you, man.
Glad that you could make the trip in person, no less, all the way from Baltimore to the nation's capital. Cory, I filled you in on how we do it here. Right into it, like we always do at this time. Cory McCray, why union?
When I think of wages, when I think of not going broke from healthcare, when I think of hopefully one time retiring with dignity, I say, why not union?
I love that answer. Why not union? Mm-hmm. Hey, I gave you an introduction, but you've done so much. I didn't want to just crib the Wikipedia. I thought I'd give you a minute just to describe who you are in your own words. Who is Cory McCray?
I was going to come back to Baltimore, man, home of the best crab cakes, the Ravens, and the Oreos, but I'm going to go back into Cory McCray. Tyler, when I think of myself, born and raised in the city, son of Baltimore, graduated from Fairmount Harford High School. High schools are a big deal in Baltimore. I live in Overly with my wife, Demetria, who I've known since I was 17 years of age. We're raising now 4 children. I got a Kennedy, Reagan, CJ, and Bryson. Tyler, I tell folks, especially these young ones, that I face the same trajectory a lot of times that we see too often for the most part. And what happens is that when we're on that trajectory, I think about my time in the juvenile justice system. I think about my time in the adult system as a juvenile, and I think about that moment when we think about just in reference to my life shifting, it was the IBEW, Tyler. I cannot say it any other way.
I've read the book, and there's a lot that I love about it, and I'll point out some of the items that I was specifically drawn to. And again, I wouldn't put the book over if I didn't really love it. First of all, you're humble, and no disrespect to your peers, not all politicians are, right? Where's that humility that runs throughout the course of the book, giving credit to everyone who put you on, the way your mom never gave up on you? Where do you think that humility comes from?
I think as I grow older, I question, how did I get across the finish line? I look, not only was I given 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 chances, and I look to my left, look to my right, Tyler, and I see a number of my peers that's not there. And I question, how can I get as many people across the finish line with me? I know I'm blessed. I know I'm blessed to have a wife. I know I'm blessed to have a family. I know I'm blessed just simply because every day I get up and serve people from that standpoint. And then I just question, how can I do it better? How can I scale impact? But more importantly, how can I add value to others?
You said it just there, and you say it in basically every chapter of the book. You didn't get here on your own. You're hugely complimentary of this instructor. Obviously, you credit your mom extensively. In the personal parts of the book, that theme of gratitude, I have to think when you were writing the book, it forced you to reflect and really kind of digest how much these people mean to you.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
What did you take stock of while you were writing this book about all of these different people who helped positively impact you on the way up?
Yep. I'm going to speak to 3 people. I'm going to speak to my mom, I'm going to speak to Dave Norfolk, and I'm going to speak to Horace Ellis if I can.
These are the 2 instructors, and then obviously your mother.
Exactly. Yep. So when I think about my mom, Tyler, I think about being incarcerated over there for 10 months at the age of 17, coming home, not home for 30 days, and back in the same situation, this time as a juvenile in the adult system. And I can remember telling my mom, just give up on me. I can remember telling her, hey, I'm too far gone. And I can remember my mom looking me straight in my face and saying words that still shake me to this day. She says, Cory, I'm going to keep believing in you until you believe in yourself, Tyler. I think at that moment, like that woman right there, the level of sacrifice that she put forward for me to get there, I cannot and will not stop thanking her. I also think about Dave Norfolk. Dave Norfolk was the assistant training director for the IBEW Local 24's JTC. And I can remember being persistent and asking them, calling them once a week, once every 2 weeks, hey, did I get in your program? And then I reflect back because this is super therapeutic. It's 100 people accepted at that time in my class. And he called me the day of the class and say, hey, if you get down here now, you can take that spot that somebody just left. And I'm telling you, I'm blessed. Then when I think about my first year instructor, Horace Ellis. Horace Ellis was a black man teaching JTC. And one of the things that I got to see, Tyler, was every day he would have on like a suit.
He was dressed the nines.
He was dressed. And
I remember
like,
you reading that. Yeah.
Why is this guy so dressed up?
Yeah,
to
you
teach
said first day
people
you
about
walked in, he
electric
was
work?
dapper in a brown suit. I remember you saying that.
And Tyler, I reflect back on it, but at the end of the day, he was leading by example and giving me that level of vision that I needed to be able to see.
The framework for the book is, like, well, for me at least, refreshingly unorthodox. What I mean is it's like half memoir, but half instructional at the same time.
Yep.
It's like a cookbook for navigating the apprentice experience. We talk about we're losing recipes. This is all the recipes, right? This is literally like from what to wear to your interview, to what type of answers to give, to what style of boots you should think about buying. It really is
Spot
that
on.
it's that niche, it's that specific. That idea of your own story kind of being an allegory for how to navigate the apprentice. Where did that idea come from? To tell your story, but also use it as an allegory for navigating apprenticeships. Where'd you get that idea from?
So some of the things that I think about is in reference to my mom. My mom just took a shot. She reached out to the Maryland Department of Labor, said, send me every apprenticeship program in the state of Maryland. She didn't really know much about apprenticeship programs. Say, Cory, go fill out these applications, and luckily I'm accepted into the IBEW. And so I think about that experience, and I said, how many other mothers, how many guidance counselors, how many teachers, mentors are thinking the same way that my mom is thinking 20 years ago, Tyler, 20 years ago, and not knowing how to navigate that process, let alone the students. Then I also think about when I went on that interview, and you talk about getting that question wrong and having to explain how I got that question.
You were
how
winging
I fumbled.
the algebra.
I'm winging it. I'm winging it. I'm like, yo, like, what's the
good story? Yeah.
The second piece that I think about is, if I knew better or if I knew now, I would map out all the apprenticeship programs. I would look at how many years are they? What's the wage structure? Like, where are they geographically located? Because I could then make a better decision. I found out about it after high school. So I graduated high school, find out about it. People need to be finding out in middle school, as early as middle school, let alone high school, to start thinking about. I think that this is equally as good as a lawyer, a doctor, any type of other professions, because I know it.
It's funny that you take us there, because that's like kind of where the rest of my questioning is going. All right, I have seen the union do for people like it did for you, people who came from meager backgrounds or maybe had records, turn their lives around specifically by way of becoming a part of the union. It was a lifeline for yourself, for so many guys and girls who I've met, and still. There's still, I think, a stigma, a lot, if not about unions in particular, it's still kind of looked down on people who work in the trades. And I don't know that that's fair. Where do you think that stigma comes from?
I think
why is there an agenda about this?
When I reflect back, it's just when you're in school, you're being pushed. College, university. I'll go to an example, and then I'll speak to like what attracted me to it. So even when I think about these young folks here today, we do university tours and college tours all the time. And I ask the question, why don't we do apprenticeship tours? So for the last 6 years in my specific geographic boundaries, I've worked with College Bound to be able to host college tours. Go see what the carpenters look like. Go see what the electricians look like. Go see what the plumbers and steam fitters, the operating engineers, and what it could look like. And Tyler, when the young folks get in there, they kind of tough. They look, they look like young folks. But then what happens is you get to that second site and you can see the conditions breaking down. You can see them put the smiles on their face. You can see the aha moments. You can then see them wiring up the receptacles and feeling like, oh, I did something.
And holding power tools like this. And doing things.
And doing things. And then, Tyler, I say, what would drive a Cory McCray at 17, 18, 19 years of age to this? If I could be honest, it was strictly the money. When I looked at $12 an hour, Tyler, and then it went up to $15 the next year, $18 the next year, and then when you hit journeyman status, you get to $32. I said, these folks are hustling me. Like, where's this at? Like, why haven't anybody told me about this well-kept secret from that standpoint? So, Tyler, I just did it because I think that access and exposure is super important to me. And the more people that know about this, I do think that we change trajectory in our neighborhoods.
I was going to ask you how you reverse course, and I think what you just described is making it tactile, tangible. Take them out and actually show it, show the work, prove it. If I have like I don't know if it's a criticism, but if I have one thing I could change, it's that in the end, it's still subjective. Like applying for any school or anything like that. Obviously, every JATC in America, if the work demanded it, they'd like to take everybody, right? But you can't just accept everyone. In the end, there's still a process with standards. You detail that in the book at length. What, in your opinion, do you want to see the apprenticeships do to be more inclusive? Or do you have some examples of apprenticeships that have taken measures to drive inclusivity?
I think one of the really, really thoughtful ideas right now is, especially with the JTC, looking at how can you incorporate a system where you can include high school students. So now in the JTC, while they may not be able to get the work obligations, so the on-the-job training obligation, they can start their in-classroom training, and then they accelerate to a second year as soon as they're accepted. So you're thinking about those 11th or 12th graders, when they get home during their school year, they're actually starting to make sure that they do the classroom instruction. They're going to walk in at 17, 18 years of age, a year ahead of everybody else.
You had so many positive influences in your life. You named 3 of them. Despite all your adversities, they never gave up on you. Your mother in particular. What would you say, unfortunately, to someone who may not have those motivators in their life, in his or her life?
Yep. I think about that. I did a chapter on this, and it's about mentorship.
Right.
And I reflected back when people would ask me, Cory, who was your mentor when you was growing up? And I say I really didn't have one. At the end of the day, Tyler, I did have them. I had my brother. I had the folks in my neighborhood, and they were teaching me the best way that they knew how. But one of the things that I would encourage folks to do is please get out of your immediate surrounding. I never gotten on a plane till I was 25, never left the country till I was 30. So I just didn't have awareness of access and exposure to information or people that could provide this level of information. And that's what I would encourage my young people to figure out. How do you expand your network? How do you expand the exposure that you do have? Take that risk. Do the things that make you uncomfortable.
You mentioned bringing the high schoolers in, getting them started earlier, touring the training centers.
Super important.
What's going on in Maryland or nationally to drive more apprentice engagement, kind of like at the grassroots level? Like that's a good example. What comes to mind, or what ideas do you have?
I'm going to dig into that one and why that's so important. So when you think about an adult and how intimidating it is for an adult to walk into a building for the first time, imagine how it is for that young person that you're telling to go fill out an application for. When we're doing these experiences, just like you're networking, so these young folks may not know that at 15, 16, 17 years of age, but they're really networking. They get to meet the assistant training director. They get to meet the training director. This is why it's important that they can get acclimated into that system. They also get to see people look like them that's in those classrooms, and then can see themselves in these respective spaces. But you asked the question, what is Maryland doing? What is Maryland doing that's maybe innovative? The thing that I would say is when you think of like college scholarships, we've always given money away legislatively from a Senate, from a House of Delegates standpoint. But this time now we're including apprenticeships. You think about the books may have some level of a cost. You do have, while union apprenticeships that I know of, 100% paid for. The only thing I had to pay for was my books. You do have apprenticeship programs that do cost, and making sure that we can make sure that that transition is at a level of ease is very, very important when we're having this conversation.
You lay out in the book in extreme detail everything that was due to you upon arrival to the apprenticeship, down to like the pay scale. Like you said, was it 03?
2003.
Not trying to age you, I'm sorry, but I think you said 2003.
I'm still young.
You were like, it was making your head spin what you were making. And that was before the benefits package, right? The pension, you talk about, they had to describe to you what a pension was and what was coming to you. And through all of that, you were buying properties, plural, in your mid-20s. For someone who's in the union their whole life, who didn't look at it as like a lifeline, who just joined it because their daddy was in and their granddaddy was in, they may not know how unusual it is to have like a deductible for your whole family that's less than $1,000, right? Yep. How do we make the apprentices themselves really take stock of how good they have it, really deeply, truly understand what it is that they're getting? Because what they're getting is a lifetime of opportunity and security post-career. Like they could never imagine. You know?
Yeah, I love to give the game. So the thing, and what I would recommend to my apprentices that are currently in right now, when I talk to you about that $12 to $15 to $15 to $18, this happened every year. And this isn't talking about the standard customary wages that everybody get when you're just in a labor union that happen twice a year. So I got 3 raises in 1 year. 3 raises in 1 year. I'm going to say that again, Tyler.
And you're how old?
And I was 20, 21, 22.
That's insane.
So I was like, where's this at? But one of the things that I think about is that I save my money. So what you also have to learn is that financial discipline. This is what the streets had taught me. The streets had said bad days are coming, so you need to be prepared.
Well, you make that comparison a couple of times, like being on the block, knowing how
very
to
similar, very similar,
and navigate. Yeah.
So what happens is everybody then will go get car payments. So you get this big raise, you then got a car payment. I'm like, oh man, you get stuck. I drove my $1,000 car. 87 Chrysler New Yorker, and I bought houses. So every year I would go out here, get a loan. No, I didn't even know anything about houses. I didn't know that they appreciate. I didn't know that they tax shelter, things of that nature. I was just like, hey, street said you can rent something for $800. The mortgage payment's $500. You just put $300 in your bank. And that's what I would encourage people. Not just getting the education, not just learning the skill, but also the financial literacy piece is so important. I didn't have kids until I came out. And I realized how much of a blessing healthcare is. When I look at folks that's going broke off of healthcare, and like how ours, that wage that I'm talking about, that 12, 15, 18, 32, healthcare was on top of that. So they were paying $3, $4 an hour on top of that. And I was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And then I just think about, so I got 4 kids. I always get a $30 bill. I always get a $40 bill because somebody stay at the doctor's for a checkup. But imagine if you have good benefits or if you don't, that could be a life and a game changer.
100%. When you were going through the process of writing the book, what are some things that you maybe had forgotten about that you were reminded of, or something that you maybe even learned about yourself? For one, you learned that you could write a book. Writing a book is hard, right?
3 years.
So, I mean, what did you learn about yourself, or something that you reflected on that maybe had kind of fallen out of the consciousness that was brought back while you were writing? You didn't know you had that in you or something.
The first, I would say 3 years. The second thing, it reinforced that I am blessed. I'm blessed to be able to get through the circumstances. I'm blessed to find the IBEW. I'm blessed to continue to be in a space where I'm serving and I'm giving to people. I'm going to go back to my mom because, like, that's where I reflected. Tyler, when I think about all those times I was put out of school, all those times that I was incarcerated, somebody had to take off of work. Somebody had to take off of work and probably had to miss days that they didn't have anyway.
Buy gas.
Buy gas. I think about my time up in Western Maryland, an hour, 15 minutes. My mom always came to visit me, and she was spending money that she did not even have anyway. So I was putting more of a hardship on her, and I just reflect back on it. I just did a talk over at the library for the first time, and I could see my grandmother, who never comes to anything but came to this, and I could see my mother, and that was the first time. I tell folks that I emotionally it don't get to me much, but that at that moment, just seeing it like really just hit home.
That's a lovely story, and congrats on that. I can't imagine how proud your grandmother must have been sitting in the crowd there. This really is the manual for evaluating, applying, joining, and then ultimately going through an apprenticeship. I think that the part I didn't expect is the part I found most interesting. And that was, what do you say to somebody when they say they're thinking of joining the apprenticeship? And you kind of tease it here a little bit. When I have asked people, they say, do it. Like Nike, just do it. But you're like, no, it's not an impulse thing. Do your homework. Go talk to them. How far is it from home? You talk about a lot of these young men don't have wheels. Like they've never had a driver's license. They ride the bus, right? You're expected to have some kind of reliable transportation. Factoring in all of these different things that people need to consider when shopping for the apprentice experience. So when someone asks you, I'm thinking about joining, what is it you say to them?
So when I thought about this book, I think about, like, people pass you information, but you don't know how to use the information. I want an experience where somebody hold my hand, help to guide me, help to give me the blueprint. Exactly what did they do in order to get there? And that's what this is. And I try my best to make it as short of a read, immediately information that you need versus stuff that just, hey, this is sitting in there. I also wanted it to be something that you go back to. You may say, hey, I need to go to chapter 7 because I'm thinking about like, how do you map it? I need to go to chapter 3 because I need to understand how do you work with difficult people and how do he navigate those different processes? I need
problem solve in real time.
Problem solving, interviews, things of that nature. So I tried to make it where you can easily go back to it. You don't have to read all chapters. You can read the ones that you connect to immediately. But more importantly, something that our young people that man, when I say that their attention span is like 0 to 100, like immediately, but also thinking about the guidance counselors, the mentors, parents, and teachers.
Are you happy with how it turned out? The book?
I am phenomenally
Yeah, it sounds like it was a labor of love. You said 3 years?
It really is a baby. It really is a baby.
When did you start writing the book?
I want to say back in 2022, June of 2022.
And it's 2025 now.
And it is 2025 right now.
What a climb. Yep. Last question, and I cannot thank you enough for coming in. This was a thrill. A half hour just blew by.
I was going to say, that was rapid fire.
Dude. What type of impact do you hope this book has? And more broadly, what kind of impact do you hope that you're having?
Yep. So, Tyler, I'm in one of my classrooms at least once or twice a week. And I'm talking about 30 people a clip, maybe 20 people a clip. And I kept asking myself every day that I wake up, how do you just scale impact? How do you add value to others? So with this, I hope that I'm not talking to 30. I hope that I'm talking to 300. I hope that I'm talking to 3,000. I hope that I may be talking to somebody on the West Coast that's trying to put this puzzle together and can say, I picked this book up. When I looked all over the space, I could not find something that could relate, that somebody had a lived experience in this process that I can go back to. So I'm super proud of it. But more importantly, I'm thankful that you gave me the opportunity to have this conversation.
Well, I'm thankful that you made the trip. The book it really is insightful. You tell your story without pretense. The prose is accessible, and the game you're given in this book, I think, really is going to change lives. He's Cory McCray, Maryland State Senator, and the book is The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life, Guidebook to Navigating the Earn While You Learn Opportunity of a Lifetime. Mr. McCray, I can't thank you enough for joining us on Why Union.
I appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Until next time, Tyler Jeffries for Why Union. Appreciate you tuning in.